a full positive that ZeroTenacity and all of these other teams have been looking through those replay codes to see what exactly BloodKariudo was doing as we can head into our first picks and ban phases for this last game of the day. And no surprises, as is tradition to form, both of the vanguards, Magneto from ZeroTenacity and BloodKariudo, going to be claiming the one-sided EMEA.
The Loki gets removed. We're likely going to see ZeroTenacity lock in the Magneto of their own, or they could try and prioritize one of the strategies, but no, they want to make sure their front line is safe. We should also talk about the fact that a lot of the teams, including BloodKariudo, have picked up coaches since qualifying for Ignite. As a coach yourself, you know how big of a difference that makes.
Yeah, I mean, the picks and ban phases off of just like coaching, we even actually heard it in the interview stage, right? Where Sailor was able to get that Captain America for the picks and bans, even though they were like, yeah, we were probably going to ban it out, and then make sure that the Starlock didn't get to come through afterwards. And then it kind of fell apart under the pressure that we had. And it really does go to show that picks and bans, it's not quite to say that you win or lose in this phase, but it has a humongous level of impact. I would say it's about a 65% weighted advantage if you have a better pick and ban phase in comparison to your opponent.
The Ultron is taken out. The hover on the Adam protection really throw a wrench into the gears of ZeroTenacity, and they now have to be scared. Is this a forced ban onto the Star-Lord now just to prevent that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just potentially a Star-Lord. Teams have started to play triple res differently in that they don't really play triple res anymore. It's not a Guardians composition. We still see it from time to time. It's still a very strong composition to have in your back pocket, but there's a couple of different things that you can slot in here and there, namely the lack of the Magneto. Like, you can still cover it with an EMEA. So I would be unsurprised if we did at some point potentially see that Adam come into play on the side of BloodKariudo, and yeah, there it is. It's going to be EMEA Strange as the Vanguard lineup. Adam's still going to be in the mix. We just have to see what Zenny is going to be deciding to go with.
We do have a champion in our midst here. Leo is the MRC Season 0 console champion for EMEA, and now they're bringing out that Adam Warlock. They're a big winter soldier player, but now going to try and buff up that storm, get those revives in, and of course Adam is a hit scan character, can punish enemy storms or human torches and get pretty reasonable burst damage.
Yeah, I mean, Adam was literally the thing that prevented double flyer meta from developing in career in Season 1 when Torch and Storm were in the mix. Everyone just went for the Adam Warlock, and they would put the duelist player on it. Prolifically Happy being probably the most famous, and those double flyers would just get minced down within moments. So if you do want to try and go for a flyer approach, that Adam being hit scan is definitely going to be a problem that Smash is going to have to deal with on the Torch.
Gainer's going to be opening up extremely aggressively, spots the Wolverine running past, but they're going to go in for a different wraparound, scouting, looking for the opening. Is it the high ground? Just trying to find someone isolated. That's going to be the Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah, onto the backline they try and go. However, Lugia on that Wolverine is going to give them a nice window of opportunity to turn the tables onto BloodKariudo instead, and it's Gainer who gets carried away by the Feral Lunge. Lugia still hasn't burned out that rocket jump pack cookie either, as Newton on the Punisher on off angle, just entirely uncontested, as everyone on the side of BloodKariudo had to just deal with the Wolverine rather than the Punisher instead.
Jeff is here. Jeff Nado on the board as BloodKariudo begin to try and force their way back in. And we do in fact see Nez on that human torch, meaning they're going to have to land some good shots from Crazy Kitty, and Leo might have to try and use that cosmic magic to get a little bit of extra burst damage.
Yeah, this is going to be really tough for BloodKariudo to play into that retake, because this Punisher is just untouchable right now. He's getting all of this pocket, and BloodKariudo just have no angle to put up pressure onto Newton, who's already 60% to that first final judgment. In the meantime, the longer you take to rotate into that Punisher, the more value Smash is, as, oh, that's an unfortunate misclick. Actually, no, BloodKariudo swap off of the Adam Warlock, so the Soul Bond being invested there is not going to be felt, as it's going to be Leolaz now on a Punisher to match.
A little bit of extra point and click to try and take out Smash, to try and burn through that front line. If they can get onto the point, it's going to be great for the hold as well with that culling turret. But right now, Smash Nez is mostly uncontested, using the Flaming Meteor for that bonus health to make sure that they get out of danger.
He's got the Supernova too. Ducky 1 is going to have the Meteor, and BloodKariudo are lacking the Magneto on the other side to absorb the Torch Ultimate, and out it comes right into the path of the entire stack of players. If they try and run away, they're just going to take so much pressure coming out on the disengagement from the Final Judgment, as ZeroTenacity are just not allowing BloodKariudo any opportunity to come into this fight.
They were able to survive the initial last stand from Lugia, but they were forced to back up Newton. Melting through now the counter from Leo, who gets eaten by the Meteor M. Ducky with the triple KO. And this is ZeroTenacity on 99, and overtime ticking down. That is just it. Round number 1 is going over to ZeroTenacity. There's no one portaling.
Yeah, I mean, ZeroTenacity won Vanguard, and they just have so much burst potential. They have so much burst potential, which means that even though BloodKariudo have the one-sided Storm, could potentially utilize the Goddess Boost to just out-tempo their opponent, they're not given the opportunity to use it. Every single time they try and maneuver the Storm into a position, they're getting shredded down by a hit scan on the other side of the map. And this Punisher, if you try and turn to the Punisher, you're not looking at the Torch. If you try and turn to the Torch, you're not looking at the Wolverine. Like, you can see, Newton goes down once. Smash Nez on a Torch? Not a single time!
They can't target him. They can't go in. They're going for a triple strategist once again. The Storm has been abandoned. It's time for the Star-Lord. There's a Torch in the game. We bring out the Master Aerial Duelist. While the Torch can get huge burst in close ranges, those iframes from the Star-Lord and Crazy Kitty could be the tool they need to try and turn this round.
Yeah, the Star-Lord's wings have been clipped, though, by the lack of Magneto. He did not manage to make it through the ban phase for the side of BloodKariudo, but Zenny with the Mantis can still stack the damage boost and the heal. As we can see yet again, TP comes out from Gainer looking for an isolated target. Out jumps iMonkey, hasn't been able to find a player to grab onto just yet, but they have found isolation. The problem is the Pyro Prison from Smash Nez just makes it so much harder for BloodKariudo to hold that position. Finally, they've been able to commit into a fight, though, in the close quarters, which sets up the ammo to get the value that they've been looking for.
2 people pushed off the map in that fight, and it's going to be BloodKariudo. They do lose Leo, but it's Adam Warlock. They can cocoon them back to the fight if they want to, and they will, to make sure that they have bodies on the point, and they will claim the initial cap. Keeping with this Jeff, by the way, even without the Storm.
Yeah, and this is rework Jeff too. So that primary is going to be healing allies and damaging enemies. So the more the players are stacked, the more value the cap on the Jeff is going to be able to find, as Lugia is looking to find an opening, gets scouted out immediately. Smash Nez also denied an angle to utilize the Supernova to instigate the fight. As ZeroTenacity hunting, searching for a way in. It's gonna be Winnie coming on through with the Psionic to force them away from that pressure off cover into the Torch Supernova, just connecting onto so many of these players getting stacked. But Crazy Kitty with the Galactic Legend, tiny sliver of HP, gets the full resource stack from Zenny and immediately goes right back up to full to stop ZeroTenacity from picking up any momentum off of their opening.
Not enough for an elimination. Neither team is finding the opening as in comes the Eternal Bond into the Final Judgment. Newton is melting through. That's going to be the Soul Rejuvenation from Zenny, who is melting here. Karmic Revival for the turnaround there, which will bring back everyone here.
Karmic Revival, but ZeroTenacity are still holding on to ultimates. Crucially, the last stand, one of the best ultimates to counterplay the Karmic Revival, because everyone gets revived, stacked up, and Lugia is claws out, scratching down the entire force of BloodKariudo, who are going to be able to potentially draw out this fight. But given the point flipping, we can see that Crazy Kitty is actually not going to go for the revive and will hold on to the cooldown instead.
And with that, they are forced back to base. They still have Ayabakemoto and the Psionic Seduction 60% of the way towards that Galactic Legend once again. At 80% of the way through the point compared to ZeroTenacity's 20. This is still completely doable for BloodKariudo, but they have to find an opening. That culling turret, Mind's Aegis, will prevent it from capitalizing as they try to deal with this very aggressive Canadian who is trying to find the flanks.
Yeah, but Gainer is just going lower and lower and lower. BloodKariudo are trying to bait ZeroTenacity into taking a fight out in the open so they can utilize the higher poke pressure that they have as a composition. But Smashnez on this torch has been able to build up another supernova. Monkey's going to try and shut it down with the Psionic Seduction connecting onto the torch. Smash going lower and lower and lower, and finally low enough to get sent fully packing as BloodKariudo now with that pick should be able to find the flip.
Great reaction from Monkey to hold down Lugia to prevent that burst and to try and prevent that torch from getting too much smash. A swap to Strange. It is ZeroTenacity going to try and hold on the overtime, but Galactic Legend, Soul Rejuvenation, and the Ayabakemoto are available. But Newton, if they can just delay for that final judgment, which they will get, now they just need to get in there and pull the trigger.
Leo gets pressured by the Punisher turret off of the angle. Crazy Kitty comes on through with the Galactic Legend. Newton at the same time sends out the final judgment, and it's cleaning house. BloodKariudo might have had the resurgence from the Mantis, but the heal effects is not enough to stand up to snuff with that Punisher ultimate. And ZeroTenacity will be able to find the fight win, but crucially, Leo is still going to have that Karmic Revival. They've got a couple of fights to play around with. They can just take this next fight dry, force ZeroTenacity's hands, and then come back into that final fight, ultimates up.
They're going to creep their way in here, looking at ZeroTenacity. That's going to be the invisible boundary. They have the last stand here. Culling turret on the high ground. Going to get jeweled out here by the Star-Lord as Leo creeping in for the burst with those cosmic clusters. But they're already getting kind of melted there. Last stand, trying to burn on through. And Leo, with the extra soul bond, will keep the team topped up. They're holding here.
Soul Bond has been used before Karmic Revival, though, so they could potentially get brought back up weakened. ZeroTenacity have to be able to wrangle their forces. They know that these picks are likely not going to stick, as Cap actually comes through with the first onto Oasis. The Cloak and Dagger is dethroned. ZeroTenacity going to be missing so much sustainability now, as it's up to Lugia. The Wolverine with the passive steps onto point, tries to hold it down, keep it in play. Smash is also making it problematic for BloodKariudo to hold that position with the Pyro Prison, as Leo invests the Karmic Revival on the other side of the portal. He can drop through now onto the other side, revive everybody on the opposing end of the portal, and bring them right back up to point before ZeroTenacity can keep up the pressure and hunt the low HP players down.
And that looked like a completely different team to the first round. BloodKariudo mixing up the draft. They forced them off of the torch just due to how aggressive they were able to be. They've evened up the score, and we are now 1-1 on map number 1.
We have Jeff. I'm so happy. We finally have Jeff, and it's not just for speed bubbles out of spawn. And like you said, it is working. Like, Jeff is able to keep up significant amounts of healing. The closer stacked up that you are, the more healing that Jeff is going to be able to provide onto multiple bodies, which in turn means that your Adam is going to be able to hold on to the healing snaps for themselves, as opposed to having to burn through all of them. A resource-based cooldown, if you have to burn that, then potentially you don't have it to save yourself, which means that the Adam would be vulnerable to that pressure coming out from either the Torch or the Punisher. So they're doing a very good job of alleviating that particular stress for Leo to have to deal with.
They're sticking with the same draft because if it ain't broke, why fix it? And Cap has its Jeff right at the back, and again the portal engage every time for BloodKariudo, and the Psionic Seduction, they are coming out swinging.
Yeah, ZeroTenacity going to be trying to retreat over towards point side, but they still get caught. Winnie goes down before Invis Barry can come on through, and that's going to clear the way for Galactic Legend. Ducky 1 holds on to Meteor M and now utilizing it, but Galactic Legend has been able to find picks in the backline behind Waterfall. ZeroTenacity have been able to pick up the first point percentage, though, enabled off of the back of that Eternal Bond. BloodKariudo now going to be down some of those engagement ultimates.
A little bit of a split there, forced out of BloodKariudo. ZeroTenacity able to isolate too many members. And while Crazy Kitty did protect the Jeff, they just were so outnumbered by the end. Culling Turret gets wiped out, and Newton backing up to the more defensive position.
Winnie going down early in that fight has the silver lining of giving ZeroTenacity still a strategist ultimate. If this boundary is going to be coming into the mix, they have to be worried though about Gainer with the Eye of Agamotto. If there's enough damage off of that Maelstrom, it will be able to punch through the healing of that boundary as BloodKariudo take the fight all the way to the point, try and force ZeroTenacity into opening up around that brawl. But you can see Smashnaz on this torch playing expertly around all of the cover the tree line provides as Lugia finds a huge last stand, pummeling through BloodKariudo's entire team line, and that's going to be the triple res comp sent packing.
ZeroTenacity are locked in, and we're seeing the slight issue with this come from BloodKariudo. Everyone's trying to heal each other, so they do stand quite close to each other at times, and just how long it takes for Adam Warlock to charge up that Karmic Revival. He's still only on 87, now 89, 90% after landing that Cosmic Cluster, but they've been through multiple fights. Now it's 73% already. Soul Rejuvenation dropped extremely early. Mantis is running in, charging Eye of Agamotto into the backline, but no one is protecting the backline, and they just ran straight past Smash, who's able to pick up a counter elimination, but it is 3 for 1.
Yeah, Leo is down, so no Adam, no Soul Bomb. BloodKariudo will be able to pick up the point for the first time at least, and Gainer will be able to remove the Wolverine from play. But you're incredibly concerned now about Smashnaz and the Supernova coming on through from the other side. Ducky One as well is going to have that Meteor M to absorb the Galactic Legend pressure coming on through from BloodKariudo. We might see a defensive It's Jeff from Calf just to absorb the pressure that ZeroTenacity can expend with the Duelist ultimates.
Sieging in from above to try and create an opening. If they can weaken them, then the engage from ZeroTenacity can come in. They have Meteor M. That's, of course, their only Vanguard. They're going to use the Eternal Bond and the Final Judgment and Supernova, and it works exactly as you'd expect. A complete melt, but no one is near to Leo, who will get the Karmic Revival this time, but can't get close enough to count. They found the Revive, and they are starting to drop the damage.
Yeah, that Revive spaces is pretty telegraphed. There's a bright, glowy beacon on it, and Smashnaz just puts the Supernova directly over the top of it. BloodKariudo just did not have the resources to stabilize once everyone got revived. And that, unfortunately, is no one close enough to touch onto point because they were playing for the full Karmic Revive.
Jeff tried to go for the It's Jeff to pick them up off the point to allow Starlord to just flip into it, but they just did not have the time. That is 1-0 in this best of 3 to ZeroTenacity. Again, an insanely pedigreed team, and for one of the first really successful solo Vanguard compositions we have seen in the EMEA.
Yeah, I mean, this Torch, like the Torch, the Punisher, the Wolverine, all working together. If you look at one, the other two gain so much more value. Your attention is just constantly split, and it's so smart to just take down a triple strategist team because you have triple duelist to be able to keep up with the amount of sustain that's available on the other side, as we're going to be seeing here from all of these replays. Smashnaz was just uncontested a lot of the time on that first round, getting to play around the ceilings, and then the second that BloodKariudo tried to go into those rooms to get an angle onto the Torch, they're suddenly playing around a Wolverine who's got all of the corner control, last stand available to punish the fact that they have to stack up to gain maximum amounts of value from things like the Atom Heal LOS, and it was just a really good counterplay.
There were so many times that we did see Gainer get picked up by Lugia. They just turned it around. This was great, this Karmic Revival from underneath the map for a turnaround potential, but Lugia just finding weakened members, getting pickups, and doing huge damage. This, they were able to lock down the Human Torch once, but no one was in position for the follow-up until it was a little bit later. They won that fight, but they can't just keep burning Silent Seduction every single time to take out the Torch.
Yeah, and I mean, Adam with Karmic Revival can be immensely strong on this point, right? Like you talked about, the fact that you can literally cast your ultimate, and then the revive distance meter is not based around where the ultimate is cast, it's based around where the Atom is. So you can actually still walk around, go through those portals, go onto the point, revive your teammates back where that was initially cast. But then when you move to this point, it becomes much harder to find Comic Revival spots, because all of those small buildings on the outskirts of the point themselves, all of those walls are entirely destructible. Very easy to be able to find those angles, as you could see that just that tail end part of the replay from Smashness. As he dives on through, he sees that golden beacon lighting on up, and he knows, oh, okay, that's where everyone's going to be revived. Let me just throw my supernova directly into that spot, and they're all going to be stuck inside the fire tornado.
The pun fire sale jumps to mind as they literally just threw in those pyro prisons, threw in supernova, and just sieged it. There was a culling turret set up. They just said that, well, we don't care if you're back, you can't leave the room. That wouldn't be allowed. We have it locked down, and this was ZeroTenacity, like you mentioned, taking advantage of the map differences, using the same strategy. It didn't work as well on point number 2, but on point number 3, it's so open. They were able to play more defensively. They were able to just lock down even the times that BloodKariudo got the point, they lost it almost immediately afterwards because they did not have any way to deal with the aerial assault.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the openness of that point. For a triple res composition, you're stuck sort of like anchoring the point, but who's going to anchor? And then suddenly you're just overwhelmed with angles. Hopefully we're not going to be overwhelmed by a 2-0. I would very much hope that this goes the distance. Whether or not we are going to see that distance, though, we'll have to wait and see. Game number 2 in the last series of the day. We'll be back after this break. Welcome back, everybody, to the last game of the day for the Marvel Rivals EMEA Ignite series. It's ZeroTenacity versus BloodKariudo, a game that has been hyped up. We've been hoping that it's going to go the distance of a 3-mapper series. Looking at how Krakoa panned on out, it did go the full 3 rounds, Tatcha. So I'm still hopeful, but I'm definitely hoping that we see some different compositions coming on through from BloodKariudo's end.
Something does need to change. While we've all been breathing in the copium of hoping that we will get to a game number 3, something does need to change to get us there. You talked about it before, how the map is so important to the style of play that you see. Not having the mag for that Star-Lord comp, the positions where you can revive are so important. The map is going to dictate what kind of strats we will see, but they need to make sure that they are adjusting the right play to the right map.
Yeah, I mean, you can play Star-Lord in a triple res composition without a Magneto, but it is incredibly map dependent, because a lot of the time we see for triple res, there's always been a hard line of engagement for that composition, and it's always been Mag Bulwark onto the Star-Lord into spin. And if you don't have the mag to be able to set that up, the Star-Lord loses a lot of the confidence to go for that spin. As we are, you and I, in the break, actually. We were just discussing that we wanted to see the new map come through.
We manifest. Okay, now manifest with me. Game 3. Game 3.
Game 3. Game 3.
We're starting off with the mag bans once again, with BloodKariudo going to be locking in onto that Emma right away.
Yes, Emma, a very strong vanguard, dispatches a lot of different heroes, makes dive infinitely harder to be able to pull off, and on Arako, you definitely want to get those dive potential picks, especially things like the Wolverine, out of the mix immediately, because the levels of verticality, especially for the defending team to have to deal with in the first fight on that first corner, can be absolutely detrimental if a Wolverine is able to grab you off the ledge.
We're looking at almost an exact mirror here, as the Loki and the Lunar Snow will both be taken away. No one wants that 24 seconds of let's not do anything and just kind of stand and dance for a while, as we move into the next protection for ZeroTenacity. With the Magnetos taken down, this could be an opportunity to see a bit of a preference onto potentially a Punisher, but they're looking at the Invisible Woman.
Yeah, Invis very, very strong as a strategist. Also is able to deny things like the Strange, looking for Eye of Agamotto plays with his shift, and taking down the Wolverine, as well as potentially we see, BloodKariudo actually going to be banning out the Ultron. So no triple strategist Ultron compositions coming on from ZeroTenacity's side now, before they translate into a Punisher protection.
ZeroTenacity, you also mentioned another advantage for the Invisible Woman, as it looks like it will be banned out by ZeroTenacity, hyper-targeting these strategists, trying to potentially force them back into this Revive Star-Lord comp once again without the Magneto. It also boosts the power, potentially, if they want to play it, of the Human Torch, which now ZeroTenacity can run a little bit freer, and that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, this is going to be really rough in terms of strategist lineup. I mean, CAF has shown the Jeff. There are better positions for the Jeff ultimate on point A on Arako in comparison to some of the maps on Krakoa. So potentially we do see that continue. But as we saw from Krakoa's performance, it's Jeff in organized team play a lot harder to pull off and find value than in comparison to maybe your ranked ladder games.
But the healing output was pretty reasonable, did manage to match their opponents in terms of that good healing. It is just where the ultimates came in that they struggled to find the value. We saw before the lock-in here, they are looking at an Iron Man potentially.
Yeah, I mean, if Iron Man comes into the mix, then the Ultron target ban also makes a lot of sense so that you can deny the nanotech team up coming on through. But no, CAF is actually going to be sticking with the Jeff. Leo is going to be sticking with the Adam. So we are going to have triple strategists coming out from the attacker side. Something to note about this map is that this first fight massively favored towards the attack, as again a strange teleport deposits everyone on top of Newton's turret, and that is going to be an aggressive soul bomb into just immediately eating away all of the defender space.
The aura of not even teleporting behind him, just like, hello, we are here to try and take this win, and blasting through that Punisher culling turret, and Smashness forced to back away. Wolverine though, Lugia still pretty cracked as they're able to get the double, triple, and they will force this push to come to a screeching halt.
Yeah, this is the problem if you're BloodKariudo. It's not just the strategists that you have access to, it's also the lack of Magneto. It's not going to just hinder your Star-Lord, it's going to absolutely boost Lugia's potential on the Wolverine, because who counters him? You have to just find the pick onto him, but this map is so hard to be able to take the Wolverine down early because the amount of cover that there is to hide around, something that Gainer just learned firsthand.
Feral Leap into Carbon Crush is just so hard to deal with. They're forced to back away again. ZeroTenacity sieging away on the point with those fibers, with the Pyro Prison to zone everyone away. And while BloodKariudo are still trying to creep on forwards, it's so slow. They've burnt through so much time already. They're down to 2 minutes and 30. That is going to be a silent seduction. Strange trying to block it, and the Supernova to lock them down. But this time, with the Soul Rejuvenation, BloodKariudo attacking through, but Newton is going to try and put a stop to that and will succeed with the Final Judgment.
Who needs Meteor M when you've got Final Judgment to take the Star-Lord down? Mid-galactic legend ZeroTenacity dig their heels into the ground. Okay, yeah, this is just strategies. That's gonna move, by the way, with the objective moving. So yeah, Newton is going to be dethroned from his position atop the actual objective as BloodKariudo try and take a flank route and get deposited yet again into Lucas' waiting arms as the last stand comes out from the Wolverine, and BloodKariudo just have not been able to find a single answer. This is the problem. Jeff can keep up with healing output, but where's the utility? You can't speed bubble out of the way of a Wolverine grab. You just have to eat it.
They're holding onto this ult for so long as well. You're going to struggle because Punisher, if they ult or go into turret, they can block it. The Cloak can avoid it. Ayamogamono going to come out. They're going to try and capitalize here as in comes the Is Jeff. Will they find some value out of this one?
There's an environmental hazard right there. We've got one. The problem is it's the Invis, which means that she's just going to be able to jump over the ledge unless you go over with her, and that's just something that BloodKariudo cannot spare. So Winnie will be able to survive stepping into invisibility as Smashness on this torch is still up, pulls another supernova, and stops the attacking side from walking past this first corner yet again.
45 seconds remaining. BloodKariudo, they have that Karmic Revival finally charged up, but they need to actually find an angle to use it because they're getting pressured from every single angle right now. And Lugia is just finding targets on cooldown, it seems. Every time BloodKariudo step up to the center bridge, there's an isolation as Newton takes out Monkey.
And with Monkey gone, That is the one thing potentially stopping the Wolverine. Ducky 1 moves into position with the Psionic Seduction, manages to split the entirety of BloodKariudo in half, which allows Lugia to just get aggressive and just keeps building up these last stands. He's got another one, by the way, and we're about to go into overtime, which means that BloodKariudo, their position is going to be forced on the objective.
Crazy Kitty has brought out the Ultron. They're trying the Venom to try and creep on him, but Monkey is melted by the final judgment, and this is turning into an absolute target practice for Newton. Gainer is taken down. No one is on the point. They're trying to creep on in, but overtime ticks down, and BloodKariudo are put to a solid halt at 57 meters, 63 centimeters, and ZeroTenacity are in a great position to take this map and the series.
So we talked earlier about how important the pick and ban phase is. And we said it's around about, 65% weighted in terms of the team that walks away as a contribution for whether or not you're going to be taking the map. In terms of this map for the pick and ban phase, 75%, probably closer to 90%, let's be honest, as ZeroTenacity have been able to engineer a pick and ban phase that removes every single Wolverine counter. Except the EMEA, and Iron Monkey is just not getting the opportunity to use Diamond Form into grab against Lugia because there's just continuous pressure on distance from Smashnez on this Torch and Newton on the Punisher, which forces the EMEA into playing with Aegis up. And if you're playing with Aegis in position to just shut down those angles, you can't use your Diamond Form.
There's so little left. Like you said, everything's been banned out. Who can really deal with the Wolverine? You can try the thing to stop him from dashing, but percentage damage plus Punisher, you're just doing one huge target. You're going to get melted. There's so little left that you can do, and BloodKariudo have decided for containment. They've brought out the Penny, they've brought out the Rocket. They're going to try and lock them in spawn.
They're trying to just play the Ultron as well. Leo is going to be on the Ultron. No Iron Man, though. You're going to have a lot of damage instead of sustainability, but ZeroTenacity read it out, and just the way we saw in Midtown, out comes the Spawn Horde counter. Newton on the Moon Knight, Winnie on the Squirrel Girl, Smashnez and Lugia still sticking with the Torch and the Wolverine, as it's just going to be one pick that they need to just blow this fight wide open. Cap on the Rocket does at least have the BRB to bring one of the players on the defenders back if they fall down a little prematurely, but ZeroTenacity, with the amount of distance that they have to cross, can just keep pressuring the Anchor State players, and that's Gainer and Monkey dispatched immediately. One of those Vanguards is not coming back.
The BRB brought one back. It's a 3-3 draft. Finally, Cap is removed. The portal is going to have to wait for the Strange to respawn, as down the stairs and just ever so slightly round the corner is the finish line. Gainer is going to try and rush in the portal. A couple people might be trying to run in to touch in time, but there's such a long distance to go. They will be able to touch, but with 2 minutes and 55 seconds left, is there anything they can do? Goodbye, Penny.
Oh, the Wolverine lunge. And Ducky 1 getting the kick as well. That's going to be ZeroTenacity surely cementing themselves, taking this 2-0. It's just a matter of dealing with the cleanups. What a difference. Krakoa was so close. Both of those teams at points looking like they had the read on the other. And then we went into this, and it was just night and day difference. Lugia on this Wolverine just going to show why the advanced pick and ban strats are so necessary. You cannot allow a Wolverine to just deny all of his potential counterplays.
There was nothing they could do to deal with it. They even tried going for the triple Vanguard, triple strategist at the end, just for the whole idea of if we don't get KO'd, then the car won't move eventually, right? But when you have Wolverine saying, oh, you're a grouped up team that's trying not to get picked off, well, I guess I'm going to isolate people one by one and pick up just anyone who tries to defend. And there was nothing they could do to it. Newton was uncontested. You talked about it, both Smash and Newton. If you target one, the other one just targets you down, and Wolverine continues to do Wolverine things.
Yeah, this Wolverine was just unleashed. Straight up, this Wolverine was just unleashed. Even here, getting to take the fight so close to the ledge, which means environmental hazard. Oh, suddenly, Feral Leap doesn't need team follow-up. We can just deposit them over the edge ourselves. And we got to see that a little bit too. It's really unfortunate for BloodKariudo, where the objective actually stopped. because in that teleport fight, Environmental has it right next to the ongoing fight. So even though you have a lot of your ultimates coming up into the mix, you don't really get to hold your space and use them because you're continuously having to worry about, hey, there's an Emma who can get me off the ledge. There's a Wolverine who can get me off the ledge. There's an Invis woman who can get me off the edge. I'm not going to play near that L edge, and it means that they all get shoved into one lane. So the Emma Diamond form is doing maximum amounts of value, and the Wolverine is getting maximum amounts of value as well too. It was just ZeroTenacity engineering the pick and ban phase, and even though BloodKariudo with the players who actually showed us the Ultron, the puppet strings were entirely pioneered by ZeroTenacity the entirety of that last map.
You called it so well. It all comes down to that draft, completely controlling from start to finish. I don't have much more to add because you just covered everything so incredibly there, other than the fact that ZeroTenacity will, of course, be moving on in the upper bracket. BloodKariudo will be sent down to the lower bracket where they will have another chance. Remember, it's double elimination, and there is still 8 spots available, 4 per group, for these teams to try and compete for that big chunk of the prize money and those international spots coming up. And we can see if teams can draft like that, if they can do the research against the other regions as well, and also make the solo Vanguard work before a lot of the regions who have been trying it for arguably longer, then that's the kind of team that we might be looking at to represent EMEA.
Yeah, I mean, we're hearing it from all of the players in the interviews, right? Peps, with their interview, they literally confess, like, this is a composition that we heard about other teams playing. Never tried it outside of just the trials period when we were picking up some of our players. We just decided to run it because it's a full hold composition, and with very little practice, they were able to pioneer it and engineer it to that level. So with a lot of these teams being able to scout out what other rosters are doing, innovate, engineer, improve on those, we're going to be seeing this meta develop and develop and develop as everyone's going to look at the performances in day 1, day 2, day 3, and they're going to go to the drawing board in the coming week.
And we have an interview with Newton themselves, who just put on an absolute clinic, just putting so much pressure onto the members of BloodKariudo. For starters, hello. Congratulations.
Hello, hello. Thank you. Thank you. History really does repeat itself, doesn't it?
Congratulations on the win. I know a lot of people were highly anticipating this matchup, given how strong BloodKariudo did in their qualifiers, being able to take maps against Berber Patapim. Were you anticipating it to be as one-sided as it ended up being?
Of course. I mean, like, we prepared a lot, and you know, people underestimate us a lot, I feel, compared to what we really what we pull off in scrims. You know, people take scrim results and they think that's the final matter of the issue, and I think we just displayed that you know, it isn't. So you know, we were going in full confidence, and I had no expectations of losing today.
So you guys ran essentially the exact same draft in both games. How long has this particular strategy been cooking for you?
This draft, 24 hours.
What? Wait, what?
So here we are. Yeah, I told you, we go in with confidence. We have no doubts that we're gonna lose. We go in with this draft and we're like, yeah, I mean, like, this looks perfect. Let's just run this.
Was there anything that inspired the strategy? Did you guys like watch any of the Asia region games and see them rolling with the solo Vanguard, or was that something else that inspired it?
So we have Lugia, which is a really good Wolverine player, and we're like, okay, this man has Wolverine open. Let him run it, and let's see what happens. I mean, like, surely it can't go wrong, right? And we're right in the end of the day. So we are over here smiling.
Don't blame you at all. As you move on in the upper bracket, you have what might be a tough matchup for you with All Business. Are you going in with the same level of confidence as you did with this one?
I mean, like, no matter who we face, be it VP, we're gonna go in with confidence and we're gonna give it everything we got every single fight.
So talk us a little bit through what the team's schedule looks like, because you said that strategy has been cooking up for 24 hours. How many hours was that actually rehearsed in Scrim, or was that literally just like Lugia coming through with the text and everyone just having to play full reactive coming into today?
Lugia was just like, let me 1v9, man. Let me 1v9, I'll do this. And then we're like, you know what? Let him do it. and then we ran it. And you know, you could see Lugia got some very good grabs on the tanks, and I think that gave us tremendous space to just win the games without really feeling any pressure.
And now that you're moving on in the bracket, we've already talked about you don't mind who you face up against. Is there anyone internationally you're looking at? Because that was a solid performance, and if you can take it all the way to the international mid-season finals, who would you be looking at?
I think there's not really a threat in the international scene compared to EU. And maybe that's a little hot take. You know, EU teams, I think they are the best of the best, but you know, we'll have to see. No matter what, we still go in with full confidence and just give them everything we have.
And in terms of getting to play Punisher, because obviously Punisher has gone through some significant changes. He's seen a lot of gameplay in a lot of seasons. Where would you say he is currently? Is he a must pick? Are we going to be seeing a lot of teams start banning around him and trying to divert to other duelists? Or is he potentially not the greatest pick, but a brilliant fallback?
I think Punisher is an amazing pick, especially, you know, with the classic ban mag save EMEA in the current meta. There's not really much to stop Punisher, so you can allow him to, like, he really shines with his ults, you know. I think we see that in almost every game there's a Punisher. His ults, they go through and they do so much damage. They kill everything. And I think that's really strong with the bans right now going on.
So I guess as we're heading into the end of EMEA for today, you have more matches coming up. We've already mentioned against All Business. Do you have anything to say for the audience who just saw that performance and for your opponents as they for you?
I actually have a little bit of a word to the enemy, if that's allowed.
I don't see why
I appreciate the enemy team, and I would like to see them go the whole way in the loser bracket. I like the players on that team, and I hope they prosper. Please don't let this loss knock you out. I really believe you can go all the way. I hope to see these guys shine in the upcoming days. And then I just want to thank everyone for watching as well, because, you know, we appreciate everyone being interested in the Marvel Rivals esports scene, and I think it's amazing that we get to be here today.
Thank you so much, Newton. That was insanely wholesome.
Yeah, came in so hot and
see the
ended so
camaraderie.
We have to stay humble once in a while, right?
So give us a little bit of a rundown in terms of like who actually takes the sort of IGL role in the team, because obviously Lugia has like idea factories, but do you have a traditional IGL? Do you have an alt tracker? Is it sort of like everyone just contributes in a little bit of the time?
I think what mainly goes on is that we have Vinny and Doki calling like the main movement of the whole roster. Now, if you wanna you know, rotate around, you know, if you wanna flip the map, they're the main callers of that. Everyone else is just screaming, target calling, and keeping the hype up, and it works, man. I'm telling you, it works.
Thank you so much for joining us, Nathan. Congratulations on your win. We will let you get back to the rest of your day. So Tetsuya, that's unfortunately it. We were hoping it would be a free mapper, and it was a 2-0 series to end off the day instead.
It very much was. Thank you very much, Newton. We are going to be getting ready to close out for the day with, don't go too far, you still have the Americas coming up after this. We still have many more games on the channel. And of course, tomorrow and Sunday, we have even more EMEA games coming up with you jumping on tomorrow. I will be back on Sunday. We've got some hype games coming up for you. I assume we'll have a bracket to look at in just a moment, but who are you looking forward to the most?
It's so hard to say, because like now we get to see all of the teams confessing that the strategies that they've been sitting on, some of them have only had them cooking for like 24 hours, or potentially it's the first time that they've run them. So a lot of the teams that I was really looking forward to seeing, now I'm rethinking, because I'm like, okay, well, they were already firm favorites to be able to come on through. I kind of want to see the teams that are trying to challenge the old guard and how they're going to be able to take either defeats from today or defeats from yesterday and process those losses and channel them into just churning out a strength instead.
And we do have a bracket update, so we can have a look at those games, have a look at the teams who have been cooking strategies, some in the slow cooker, some in the microwave, as they are blasting on through. Shmongus versus Patapim, ZeroTenacity versus All Business. An incredible match coming up for you with some big MRC legends. And then the lower bracket, OG Seed versus 0%, and BloodKariudo looking for redemption versus L9.
I think that one could potentially be a free map series for sure. There's a lot of adaptation coming on through, especially the fact that BloodKariudo is one of the teams that is still running things like the Atom. Although, as we saw, the pick and ban phase definitely needs to be rethought around that one, so it's something that Low9 could be able to take advantage of. But Virtus.pro versus Rad, I think that's definitely one to keep your eye onto, especially since Rad's players, it's essentially LG, who've been in the past one of those teams that would place second in things like the Invitational. They would really take it down to the wire against Virtus.pro in the past.
They've come in top positions in MRC. Like you mentioned, they came second in MRI. This is one of the most legendary rosters, and they're going to get one of many runbacks against Virtus.pro this early on in the tournament. And then we have Insomnia versus Peps. Peps showing that they have been cooking away with new strategies, and our lower bracket matches